All right, we're gonna let it rip. New video, new idea. Embrace the mid. Embrace the mid. I was talking to a coworker today, and I actually ended up having the same conversation with like 3 different coworkers about how sometimes we get so stuck in trying to perfect things that we don't do anything. And it's a term for that, which is analysis paralysis, where you just get so stuck trying to piece everything together before you start that you never start. And I'm trying to flip it to embracing the mid. And when I say that, I mean embracing the bland, embracing the boring, sometimes just the simple, the things that we don't feel ourselves are major, but can be steps towards something or can compound towards something. And I had a couple notes for what I meant for that, but I just kind of wanted to just pick that topic and let it rip, because I think for myself specifically, always knowing how something should go stops me from really finding out. And that kind of makes me think of F around and find out. You kind of got to get busy effing around. The same with going to the gym. Sometimes feeling intimidated by a huge workout or a major diet change or just a lifestyle change, it feels intimidating, so it stops you from committing. But really, you could just embrace the mid, which is a simple, mediocre workout is better than nothing. You know, a rough draft is better than a blank page. And I'm trying to improve myself and my life with this concept of embracing the mid and just doing something and letting it rip, not thinking too much. That kind of goes back to my other video, retard maxing, where move more on instinct than trying to always have these convoluted plans and ideas, and everything needs to have a layout, everything needs to be looked over 1,000 times. I think we spend too much time doing that, and we watch people all day long. I speak for myself. I listen to content all day. I watch different YouTube videos, and I watch people who I don't judge so harshly. I don't judge harshly by what they're putting out. I just appreciate that they're putting something out. And I want to do that for myself. So I think a major thing that embracing the mid does is it teaches you what works and doesn't work. Sometimes by knowing what one thing looks like, you can either go further down that path, or you can swap and switch out and do something different. But it takes doing that to even get to that point. And I was telling a coworker, right now I'm in a stage of my life where most days are mid. Most days are boring, you know, they're simple. And I'm trying to embrace this chapter because it's helping me find what I do want to do, and it's helping me get away from some of the things I don't want to do. And I'm using embrace the mid to put a positive spin on some of these lackluster days. Because sometimes you want there to be a lot of excitement, you want there to be joy, of course, you know, but I think you should come to terms with the simple days to really build towards something. Life's not always gonna be highs, but it's not always gonna be low. And if you can learn to embrace that middle ground, I think it can compound and it can build up over time. And you start stacking these different wins that in the day felt mid, but you got to some point, you know, you got to some level of accomplishment. And I just think it's really powerful. I was talking to a couple different people at work about this, and they agree, like, man, I'm kind of in a mid point in my life. And I saw some jokes online talking about midlife crisis, and it was like, man, I would have a crisis too if my life was mid. But I want to flip that to just think about the positives that come with a boring routine or a boring life, you know, the simplicity that you have, understanding your routine and whatnot, and making something of that, you know. I think if you embrace the mediocre and still do something, still put something out, still create without waiting for perfection, you build an archive, you know. And I was telling my friend, if I put a video out every week on a day that I'm off, at the end of the year I'd have 52 videos, and that could feel mid, You know, that could feel boring every week just doing one video, but at the end of the year, you have a collection, you know, and that's huge, and that's more than just a random viewer might do, you know, and that's more than what the next person is doing. And also, it's just documenting your life. It's documenting, speaking for myself, it's documenting a part of your thought process, where you were at some point. You know, I'm looking at 7 months ago, how far I've changed in 7 months to now, and I'm just thinking about, okay, where could I be in another 6 months, another 7 months, and just accepting the mid. Not trying to always think I'll know when a certain feeling is right and now it's time to start. I think if you just start and wait, start, put something out, and then along the way build, is better than waiting for that moment. And so that's kind of the kick that I really wanted to rock with this video. And I'm using a thumbnail. It's got a picture of a huge equation, but then it equals out to mid. And I think that brings to mind all the creative outputs there are in this world. To somebody else, they might have been these huge masterpiece. It might have this lavish plan, this whole rollout, this layout, and we could just easily call somebody's song or a piece of art mid, you know, but to them it might have been everything. It might have taken everything out of them. So I think it's better to put something out and let the world judge it, whether that's harsh or not, than trying to filter it through your own eyes as perfection, mid, shitty, excuse me. And I think doing something mid is usually better than doing nothing, because it's gonna compound over time. Doing something that's mediocre, you learn what you do want and you learn what you don't want, but you also learn more about yourself. And I think just getting into a habit of finding that feedback, you know, like I could make a video every week and then find out maybe I'd rather do something else, but that would give me absolute feedback, and it could cancel out thoughts too. There's this feeling when you see somebody doing something and you feel like it's easy enough that you could do it also, that there's like a bit of jealousy, but then you kind of let it go because you tell yourself, oh no, I could easily do it. Well, prove it, you know, prove it to yourself that you could do it, and then let that proof be a receipt that you'll always have, you know. Oh yeah, I did that, I tried that already, you know, or I tried it and didn't like it, or I tried it and loved it and I did it better than they were. And I think there's something to be said about that. Repetition turns average into good over time, you know. So doing something repeatedly, like I said, it compounds. And doing nothing guarantees no improvement. So I think when you hear people that it feels like they have the same problems over and over and over, it just shows you like no new thought has been added to the equation. And I think sometimes just documenting your problems, whether that's just finding a friend or even a piece of paper or recording yourself about it, you're able to have a playback, and you can see those thinking patterns, those habits, and then do something about it. You know, having some type of gameplay, some type of footage for your life can help you get critical about the moves that you do want to make, and it won't always feel like it's so far away from your ability. So yeah, I wanted to say something on embracing the mid, because it's actually helping me build confidence and it's helping me build action in my life, other than just, you know, just accepting the kind of boring and dull reality. Embrace it, you know, embrace that, hey, you might be in a slower point of your life. You know, I have a friend right now who's behind bars, and I think sometimes about all the times that I'm not being grateful for my freedom, and I have to flip and do a comparison to what it would feel like not even having these things that I would, you know, call mid, basic, simple, these things that are just givens, and we can't really take that for granted. So I think embracing mid also is about finding gratitude, and you might realize that the things that you think are mid aren't, you know, that you actually are living a blessed life. You know, you have a lot of things actually going on, and you might be spinning a whole lot of plates that you're so used to spinning that you don't realize you are until something stops. So yeah, that's something that I'm gonna keep going, coining it now. Embrace the mid. But yeah, you don't want to wait for, you don't want to wait. You know, waiting for perfection leads to procrastination, and it's hidden. You know, always thinking you know best. That's why I say I think you shouldn't think. I think a lot of what we do should be instinctive or instinctual, and I'm trying to jump off that for myself. And that's part of what I'm doing now, is recording myself and just letting it rip. You know, I think a lot, I talk to a lot of people, and I want to document some of these different thought pieces that I have and just my life on here, and even if it's just to look back, you know. And I challenged a friend at work today to do the same, and even if it's a video a week, and even if it's a single viewer or two, if those people were standing in front of you, a conversation would be had, and that's enough to continue. That's enough of a spark to build something. So I think every person's perspective has value, and I think that they should embrace it, even if you feel like it's mid. So that's the thought process. Embrace the mid in your life. Find what works for you. I'm trying to figure out what works for me, and we're gonna figure it out together. But if you resonate with this message at all, drop a comment, leave a like. That helps me. That's boosting me up. I got a couple different views and different likes from people, and that just made me feel really good, because before even telling myself I was embracing this mid, I felt like I was in a really slow point in my life, which I'm not complaining about. You know, I'm very appreciative, but we can stir up more emotion for ourselves by embracing where we are versus just trying to get out of it, you know, trying to run away from this period. So that's kind of where I'm at. Peace out. I'll talk to y'all later.